Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, the most confidential knowledge, text 10 onwards. So most confidential knowledge, so Krishna is first speaking about himself. Mayadhyakshena prakriti suyate sacharacharam etunanena kaunteya jagad viparivartate. This material nature, which is one of my energies, is working under my direction, O son of Kunti, producing all moving and non-moving beings. Under its rule, this manifestation is created and annihilated again and again. So this material nature, many times or most of the time, when you talk to anybody about, oh, how this happened, oh, Prakriti ne kar diya, this is how nature works and this and that. And here Krishna is clearly saying this material nature works under my direction, not independently, not on its own. Because people don't have an idea of God and they don't want to believe in God, they just come up with these excuses, these answers. Oh, apne aap ho gaya ji. No, nothing happens on its own. It is clearly stated here that the Supreme Lord, although aloof from all the activities of the material world, remains the Supreme Director. In previous verses, he said that I am aloof, I don't get involved, but he is a Supreme Director. The Supreme Lord is a supreme will and the background of this material manifestation. But the management is being conducted by material nature. Krishna also states in Bhagavad Gita that of all the living entities in different forms and species, I am the Father. Means the soul, the spirit soul, doesn't come from nature. Spirit soul doesn't come from anywhere else. Krishna says, I am the Father. Father means, as Prabhupada, the father gives seeds to the womb of the mother for the child. And similarly, the Supreme Lord, by his mere glance, injects all the living entities into the womb of material nature, and they come out in their different forms and species, according to their last desires and activities. So that is at the beginning of creation. So if it happens at the beginning of creation, according to their last desires and activities, means in the previous life. So similarly, we have life goes on in this lifetime also. It means we're gonna take birth, do some activities, get old, get disease, die, again take birth, do some activities, and go through the reactions of past activities, which past activity reaction is going to come when, that's not up to us. As Krishna says, he is the director and material nature does the management. It is very complicated, but at the same time, it is simple to understand. Yes, nothing happens without my karmic reaction or my karma, what I had done earlier. And still, everything is under the control of the Supreme Lord. And if I want, it's not if Krishna wants. Krishna wants every living entity to come back to the spiritual. But it's up to us. He doesn't interfere with our desires. But if we want, if we may have a strong desire, yes, I want to work. Okay, whatever I have done, I've suffered, enjoyed, whatever done, it's okay. And whatever in this lifetime will happen, will. But now it is time that I can make some changes, make some differences in my life. So all these living entities, although born under the glance of the Supreme Lord, take their different bodies according to their past deeds and desires. So the Lord is not directly attached to this material creation. He simply glances over material nature. Material nature is thus activated and everything is created immediately. Because he glances over material nature, there is undoubtedly activity on the part of the Supreme Lord, but he has nothing to do with the manifestation of the material world directly. Everything comes from him. They're not just spirit souls, but all the ingredients of material nature come from him. But personally, he has nothing to do with us. And it's not that he wants the material world to happen. It's just like Prabhupada explained someplace that government doesn't want to build up prison houses. Government doesn't want. But they know some people will break the laws, and that is why they have to construct the prison houses and maintain and manage what to do. So similarly, Lord doesn't want this material. Lord doesn't want all the living entities here suffering there. But what to do? They're not fit to remain in the spiritual world, so some place has to be created where they can learn their lesson, get rectified, and get eligible to come back to the spiritual. This example is given in the Smriti. When there is a fragrant flower before someone, the fragrance is touched by the smelling power of the person, yet the smelling and the flower are detached from one another. There is a similar connection between the material world and the Supreme Personality of God. Actually, he has nothing to do with this material world, but he creates by his plans and ordains. In summary, material nature, without the superintendence of the Supreme Personality of God, cannot do anything. And that is also true. It's not that material world will go on its own. No. He created it for us, and he is maintaining it. He's making sure everything goes on properly, but he has nothing to do with it. Yet the Supreme Personality is detached from all material activities. He's completely detached. So whatever happens in our life, at least the bad things, we cannot blame it on Krishna. It is our karma. He's just making sure we get the reactions. And also, this is where human existence comes into picture. We have to learn how to get out of it, and we have to work on it. Otherwise, next birth is there, standing right there. And again, we will be crying again, oh, Bhagwan, tune mere saath aisa kyun kiya aisa? What does God has to do with all this? And further, Krishna says, because I've created this material world, I come in it to perform my activities, to attract the living entities to my activities, to my pastimes, to my teachings, to my form, so that they can come back to the spiritual world. That why we are not in his pastimes, Why we are suffering? But next verse he says, Avajananti mam mula manushim tanum ashritam param bhavam ajananto mam bhutam eshwar. But when I come in a human form, fools deride me when I descend in the human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the supreme Lord of all that be. Mam bhut maheshwaram. From the other explanations of the previous verses in this chapter, it is clear that the Supreme Personality of God, although appearing like a human being, is not a common. The personality of Godhead who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation cannot be a human being. Human being, what can we create? Just like there's a joke that says, few scientists, they got together and they cloned a human being and they made a human being body. So they all got together, they went to God and told him that we don't need you, we can make our own human being. Krishna said, okay, let me first check it. What do you make? So we want to make sure you don't do some mistake. Okay, fine. So Krishna came to the lab where they were making human being. So scientists got together, they had all the machinery and everything, and they took some clump of soil, put it on the machine, and they were starting to make human being. Krishna said, no, wait. What are you doing? They said, what? You're making human being. He said, no, first get your own dirt. Get your own soil. I mean, I made this soil. So you cannot make things out of what I created and then call it your creation. So, so this is what happens. Scientists, they say, oh, we created this, we created that. What did they create? Out of what Krishna has already provided. Even like earlier we studied intelligence, or further we'll study. Yeah. Everything comes from Krishna. Intelligence of a human being comes from Krishna. Any powers that comes from Krishna. So what can we say that, oh, I made this, I made it? No. And when Krishna appears like a human being, we have to understand he's not a common man who has created not just this planet Earth and all the varieties of life, all the elements for the life to sustain on this planet Earth, but all the planets in the whole universe and millions of universes. And Krishna has created, and not just created, he didn't sit down and make everything. Just by his will, his energies come into action, they create for his desires. He's not a common man. The personality of Godhead who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the complete cosmic manifestation cannot be a human being. Yet there are many foolish men who consider Krishna to be merely a powerful man and nothing. Actually, he is the original Supreme Personality, as is confirmed in the Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Paramam Krishna. He is a Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even those who believe in Vedas and Vedic scriptures, even they are confused. Who's the Supreme Lord? Some say Vishnu, some say Lord Ram, some say Krishna. But what the scriptures say, that is most important, not what we think. There are many Ishwaras, controllers, and one appears greater than the other. In the ordinary management of affairs in the material world, we find some official or director, and above him there is a secretary, and above him a minister, and above him a president. Each of them is a controller, but one is controlled by another. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme controller. Ishvara Paramaha Krishna. Param Ishvara is Krishna. There are many controllers, undoubtedly, both in the material and spiritual world. But Krishna is the supreme controller. And his body is Satchidananda, means non-material. The body is made, or body or the whole person. There is no difference between soul and body of Krishna. The whole personality is made of Sat, Chit, and Anand. And not just him, everybody in the spiritual world. That is what they're made of. But still, he is the supreme controller everywhere. Of course, we studied yesterday the qualities of Krishna and Srimati Radharani. So, 25th quality of Radharani, she controls Krishna. But that control is out of her love for Krishna. Krishna himself comes under the control of love of Srimati Radharani. But here the controller means everything is controlled, provided, maintained, and here destructed also, created. That is done by Krishna. Radharani doesn't get it. So that's the difference. But controller, Krishna is a supreme controller, not just controller. Just like in any country, India, Modi ji, so many ministers are there, ministries are there, so many offices, agencies, states, and then the government administration for all the states, or the central government. But of all of them, they all are controllers in their own ways. But Prime Minister Modi is the leader controller. I won't say supreme controller, because supreme controller is only Krishna. But for India, so he is the one, the leader. So similarly, supreme controller, there are many controllers. All the demigods, 33 crore, they are controlling their own departments. But supreme is Krishna. Material bodies cannot perform the wonderful acts described in the previous verses. His body is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Although he is not a common man, the foolish deride him and consider him to be a man, to be a common man. His body is called here Manushim because he is acting just like a man, a friend of Arjun's, a politician involved in the battle of Kurukshetra. But he's not just an ordinary human being like we are. In so many ways, he's acting just like an ordinary man, but actually his body is Satchidananda Vigraha. Eternal bliss and knowledge absolute. This is confirmed in Vedic language also. Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya. I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the eternal blissful form of knowledge. There are other descriptions in the Vedic language also. Tam ekam govindam. You are Govinda, the pleasure of the senses and the cows. Satchidananda Vigraha. And your form is transcendental, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternality. So although he is all this, but he still appears as a human being, performs as supernatural pastimes, still in the form of a human being, so that we can relate with him. We can develop love for him. We can serve him. Despite the transcendental qualities of Lord Krishna's body, its full bliss and knowledge, there are many so-called scholars and commentators of Bhagavad Gita who deride Krishna as an ordinary man. The scholar may be born an extraordinary man due to his previous good work, But this conception of Shri Krishna is due to a poor fund of knowledge. So, a scholar may be born an extraordinary man. Means, okay, when a child is born, he may be extraordinary at that time, or later he develops some good qualities, becomes a great scholar. But that didn't happen just like that, as Prabhupada said, due to his previous good work in the previous lives. But he didn't do a good job understanding Krishna. That's where the problem is. Therefore, he is called Mudha. Avajananti mam Mudha, Krishna says. Could be scholars, they're Mudhas in the eyes of Krishna. For only foolish persons consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being. There could be scholars of technical knowledge, scholars of Vedic knowledge also. But if they don't understand Krishna, Krishna says they're mulas. There's so many. I mean, if you speak to what are these followers of Dayanand Saraswati, they consider Krishna, he was just a great person, historical person, not God. And even if they can recite mantras or do big yajnas, Krishna says they are mulas, foolish. And there are so many others, Brahmakumaris, or whether we consider Radha Swamis, or just as scholars and scientists and poets and philosophers. It could be big thing for the materialistic people. But according to Krishna, they are mudas, foolish. The foolish consider Krishna an ordinary human being because they do not know the confidential activities of the Supreme Lord and his different energies. They do not know that Krishna's body is a symbol of complete knowledge and bliss, that he is a proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. He is the proprietor of everything that be, and that he can award liberation to anyone. And that these are some of the qualities of Krishna. Because they do not know that Krishna has so many transcendental qualifications, they deride him. And yesterday we studied in Chaitanya Charitamrita 64 most important qualities that Krishna has. But we see, or these mudas see Krishna according to their own vision, according to their own consciousness, their own mentality. And when they see Krishna like that, they see only his pastimes as one, stealing butter, two, with the gopis. Whether he was stealing their clothes or doing his Ras Lila with the gopis, these are the only two things they see. They comment on, or they put Krishna down. Why? Because these qualities are in themselves. Like if I put on glasses with red color lenses, I'll see everything red. Everything is not red, but I'll see everything red. Because my consciousness is like that. So I want to enjoy with women, and when I see Krishna doing that with the gopis, not knowing why he is doing that, what is the eternal truth and behind that, then I try to put him down, bring him down. Why? That is why we have to see through the eyes of scriptures. But this is not what they'll do. And that is why Krishna's, they're mudas, they're foolish. Nor do they know that the appearance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in this material world is a manifestation of his internal energy. He himself says in 4th chapter, I always appear and perform my pastimes according to my internal energy, even in the material world. He's like explained like a lotus flower. The lotus flower, the lotus petal, although the flower is in water, but it never touches water, never affected by water. He is the master of the material energy. Previous verse we studied. As has been explained in several places, Mam Maya Duratyaya. My Maya, my material energy is difficult to overcome. He claims that the material energy, although very powerful, is under his control. And whoever surrenders unto him can get out of the control of this material energy. Otherwise, no. And people say so many things about Krishna. Don't even consider him as God. If a soul surrendered to Krishna can get out of the influence of material energy, then how can the Supreme Lord, who conducts the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the whole cosmic nature, have a material body like us? So if I surrender to him and I can get out of the clutches of this material energy, then how can that person be under the clutches of material energy? And also, definitely, he cannot have a material body. He has to have spiritual body, spiritual existence, spiritual persona. So this conception of Krishna is complete foolishness, that he has a material body. Foolish persons, however, cannot conceive that the personality of Godhead, Krishna, appearing just like an ordinary man, can be the controller of all the atoms and of the gigantic manifestation of the universal. Just because it's beyond our conception doesn't mean it is false. The biggest and the minutest are beyond their conception, so they cannot imagine that a form like that of a human being can simultaneously control the infinite and the minute. Cannot imagine, cannot conceive. So that's why they're saying most mean 99% people think it's ultimately it's impersonal, nirakar. It cannot have a form because those who have a form can only control up to a certain degree, not infinite is infinite control. So if God has control over everything, means God cannot have a form. This is our conception, our misconception. Actually, although he is controlling the infinite and the finite, he is apart from all this manifestation. This is another quality. He is controlling, but he's apart, he's aloof, he's away. He's controlling through his energies. It is clearly stated concerning his yogam aishwaram, his inconceivable transcendental energy, that he can control the infinite and finite simultaneously, and that he can remain aloof from them. Although the foolish cannot imagine how Krishna, who appears just like a human being, can control the finite and the infinite. Those who are pure devotees accept this, for they know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they completely surrender unto him and engage in Krishna consciousness, devotional service of the Lord. Just like once Narad Muni was walking by, and he met two people, one Brahman and one cobbler, Mochi. And they both asked Narad Muni, what are you doing? Where are you going? And Narad Muni said, I'm going to see Lord Vishnu. So both of them asked, Okay, Narad Muni, if you're going to see him, please ask me how much longer I have to stay in this material world. Okay. So Narad Muni went and he performed his puja and everything for Lord Vishnu. And while he was coming back, he asked, "Oh, my Lord, I met these two persons, one Brahman and one Mochi, and they both asked me to ask you to how much longer in the material world? When are they going to get out?" Lord said, "Oh, well, for Mochi, it's his last life, and Brahman, he has to take many lives." Narada Muni was surprised. Mochi, who doesn't even do any bhakti, and Brahman is always engaged in your puja, archana. Lord smiled. He said, "Yeah, that's what it is. And if they ask you what I was doing, tell them I was passing an elephant through the eye of a needle." Narada Muni, "Okay, my Lord, whatever you say, I'll tell them." So he came down. So he first saw the Brahman, and Brahman said, "Did you see the Lord? What did you ask him? What did he say?" And Narad Muni said, "Yeah, I saw him. I asked him, and he said it will take you many lifetimes." Brahman was thinking, what is this he's saying? Narad Muni, he said, "No, okay, tell me what he was doing when you saw him to make me understand that you actually saw him." Oh, he was passing an elephant through the eye of a needle. Brahman said, "It's not possible. You never went to see the Lord. You're just making up stories. Ah, too many lifetimes. I don't believe it." Okay, whatever. Narad Muni went to the Mochi. The Mochi very humbly got up. "Oh, Narad Muni, you came back. Please tell me, what was the Lord doing? And what did he say about my life?" So Narad Muni first said, "Well, he was passing an elephant through the eye of a needle." And the Mochi started dancing. "Oh my Lord, he can do so many mysterious things. It's wonderful. He was passing an elephant through the eye of a needle." Narad Muni said, "Do you believe it?" Mochi said, "Yeah, what's there not to believe? How do you believe it?" Mochi said, "Narad Muni, you know the answer, but you're asking me, so I tell you. You see this big people tree here? So the people tree is a huge people tree. But my Lord is so sweet, so merciful. He has put this whole tree into that seed. So when you put the seed in the ground, and with time it grows and becomes a whole people tree, people of Bargat, whatever. And then it produces more seeds. So the Lord, what's so impossible for the Lord? He can do anything, everything. Huge banyan tree or people tree, he can put in this seed. It just takes time for it to fructify. That's all. So what's so difficult for him to pass an elephant through the eye of a needle? So Narad Muni said, "Well, I guess this is why the Lord said, this is your last life. You have so much of faith in the Lord and surrender. And those who are foolish, like Prabhupada is saying, they cannot even understand how he can control infinite and finite. How is it possible?" Just like that Brahman, how is it possible for him to pass an elephant through the eye of a needle? And that is why they always criticize devotees. "Ah, you are blind followers. You don't know anything." I also once on this Brahma Kumari's follower. I was visiting my uncle's house in Prayagraj, and he was his neighbor. He saw me coming in. I was in dhoti kurta, and he was friendly to my uncle. So he also came in. And I'm like, "I don't even know you. I don't know anything. Who are you? Who are you not?" And he just came in and, "Oh, started saying, you guys don't know anything. Who are you? Bhakti. What is bhakti? You should develop knowledge, cultivate knowledge. I said, okay, now you started it. So I said, I quoted some shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, and he was again, there's that. I said, Swamiji, first I'm quoting shlokas of Bhagavad Gita, and if you want, I can quote shlokas from Srimad Bhagavatam. What are you quoting? Nothing. You're just complaining that I don't know anything. What do you know? And where is your knowledge coming from? From some book your founder has written without any reference to any scriptures? And you think I don't know anything? He was completely shocked. Now what to say? But this is what it is. Bhakti is not just blindly following. We've studied scriptures and acharya, and we are come in the disciplic succession. And that is why we are following. And even the following is not just whimsical following. Following the scriptures, whatever the scriptures say, we do it. Not just some book somebody wrote and that's it. And in fact, then I asked him, your Brahma Kumar, wonderful people. I think again, like Sister Shivani and others, wonderful, wonderful people. But when it comes to philosophical background, scriptural understanding, that's where they're lacking. And I asked him, so I think Brahma Kumaris was started in 1930s sometime. I said, so before 1930s, don't you think anybody knew what this material world is, how to get out of it? Only in 1930, your Lekhraj Tandonji found out, and that's when he wrote the books, and you all are following. And then he left. So, nothing against Brahma Kumaris, but don't push somebody who knows things to a certain extent. I don't know everything, but whatever I know. So this is what Prabhupada, therefore they completely surrender unto him, knowing Krishna who he is and knowing his instructions, not blindly, and engage in Krishna consciousness or devotion service. There are many controversies between the impersonalists and the personalists about the Lord's appearance as a human being. But if we consult Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the authoritative text for understanding the science of Krishna, then we can understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is not an ordinary man, although he appeared on this earth as an ordinary. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, when the sages headed by Shaunak inquired about the activities of Krishna, they said, Kritavan kil karamani sah ramen keshava ati martayani bhagavan gula kapatam. Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, along with Balaram, played like a human being, and so masked, he performed many superhuman acts. So Lord's appearance as a man bewilders the foolish. No human being could perform the wonderful acts that Krishna performed while he was present on this earth. When Krishna appeared before his father and mother, Vasudeva and Devaki, he appeared with 4 hands. But after the prayers of the parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child. As stated in Bhagavatam, Babhuva Prakrita Shishu. He became just like an ordinary child, an ordinary human being. Now, here again it is indicated that the Lord's appearance as an ordinary human being is one of the features of his transcendental body. In the 11th chapter of Bhagavad Gita also it is stated that Arjun prayed to see Krishna's form of 4 hands. After revealing this form, Krishna, when petitioned by Arjun, again assumed his original human-like form, Manushim Rupam. These different features of the Supreme Lord are certainly not those of an ordinary human being. So many other pastimes, and the Prabhupada just citing 2 or 3. He is not an ordinary. And also when he was born, or when he appeared in the prison house of Kansa. So he appeared as a child, as a baby, with full grown hair. His head was full of hair, and he was wearing so many jewels when he appeared. He was wearing a crown, four-handed. So how many children appear like this? And as soon as he appeared, Vasudeva was praying to him, and he told him, because you do had performed so much of tapasya, I gave you blessing that I'll appear as your child. And so many other things he told. So how many children do that? None. But that also proves he is not just an ordinary human being. Supreme Lord himself. Some of those who deride Krishna and who are infected with the Mayavadi philosophy quote the following verse from Srimad Bhagavatam to prove that Krishna is just an ordinary man. Aham sarveshu bhuteshu bhutatma avastita sada. The Supreme is present in every living entity. We should better take a note of this particular verse from Vaishnavacharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, instead of following the interpretation of unauthorized persons who deride Krishna. Jiva Goswami, commenting on this verse, says that Krishna, in his plenary expansion as Paramatma, is situated in the moving and the non-moving entities as a supersoul. So any neophyte devotee who simply gives his attention to the Archa Murti, the form of the Supreme Lord in the temple, does not respect other living entities, is uselessly worshipping the form of the Lord in the temple. Means as a super soul, he is present in everybody. So we should respect everybody. Because a super soul is also a representation of Krishna, representative of Krishna, and Archamurti is not different from Krishna. There are three kinds of devotees, and the neophyte is in the lowest stage. The neophyte devotee gives more attention to the deity in the temple than to other devotees. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur warns that this sort of mentality should be corrected. A devotee should see that because Krishna is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma, every body is the embodiment of or the temple of the Supreme Lord. So as one offers respect to the temple of the Lord, he should similarly properly respect each and every body in which the Paramatma dwells. Everyone should therefore be given proper respect and should not be neglected. Yeah, Paramatma is there in everybody's heart, in fact, in every atom. So everything should be respected. But the dealings with everybody is on the basis of their consciousness. Like if I, just because Paramatma is in the heart of a snake, doesn't mean I'm going to put the snake around my neck and start worshipping. There are also many impersonalists who deride temple worship. They say that since God is everywhere, why should one restrict himself to temple worship? But if God is everywhere, is not in the temple or in the deity? Although the personalist and impersonalist will fight with one another perpetually, a perfect devotee in Krishna consciousness knows that although Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, he is all-pervading also, as confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Although his personal abode is Golok Vrindavan and is always staying there by his different manifestations of energy and by his plenary expansion, he is present everywhere in all parts of material and spiritual creation. So that is beauty of Krishna. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments? Okay, you all have spirit. Safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila.
Thank you, Prabhuji.